Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're jumping into a bunch of sources you sent over, all centered on the real basics of business math: profit, loss, and discount. Our goal here is to really unpack the main rules, the sort of core ideas in this material, and figure out why these numbers matter. You know, whether you're running a shop, buying something, or just trying to understand prices.
Exactly. And we're looking beyond just the symbol definitions. The material you shared lays out some really crucial rules, like how percentages actually get calculated,
Yeah.
and things like extra costs, how discounts work mechanically. It gets specific.
Okay, let's get into it then. The sources, they make a really big point right away.
Yeah.
Profit is selling price minus cost price. Everyone gets that. But the percentages, that's where the rules come in.
Right.
The material says profit percentage and loss percentage are always calculated on the cost price, period.
This is so important because, well, the cost price is what you initially spent, right?
Yeah.
Your investment. So calculating your gain or loss based on that number tells you the real return. The formula's right there. Profit over CP times 100 or loss over CP times 100. It grounds everything back to your starting cost.
That makes total sense. It's about what you got back versus what you put in. Now, something else mentioned is overheads. How do they fit into this cost and profit picture?
Yeah, overheads. This is where cost gets a bit broader. It's not just the buying price.
Right.
Overheads are those extra things: transport, maybe some repairs, packaging, and the sources are clear. You add these to the initial cost price.
Yeah.
That gives you the total cost price. And then any profit or loss calculation uses that higher total cost, not just what you first paid.
Got it. So the example they use, buying for $6,500, adding $700 overhead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The real cost becomes $7,200. That's your baseline for figuring out profit now.
So it reflects the true cost to get it ready. The sources also had some interesting examples like buying and selling different amounts of things.
Yeah, those bits show how you apply these rules when things get slightly more complex, like working out the cost per item first, then the overall profit. It shows the rules still hold up.
Okay, let's talk discounts. We see them everywhere. How do they mesh with profit and loss according to these sources?
Right. Discounts operate on a different track. They're always based on the marked price or, the list price.
Not the cost price.
No, definitely not. The selling price is simply marked price minus the discount. And the discount percentage is calculated off that marked price.
Okay, so that's a really key difference the material hammers home. Profit loss percent uses cost price base. Discount percent uses marked price base.
You've got it.
What about those double discounts?
Yeah.
20% off, then another 10% off. The sources mentioned that, right? You don't just add them.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic point of confusion. And the sources are very firm. Absolutely not. You can't just add 20 and 10 to get 30% off.
Right.
The second discount, the 10%, it applies to the already reduced price after the first 20% came off. The examples they gave, like 10%, then 20%, that actually works out to 28% off total, not 30%. Or two 50% discounts. That's 75% off, not free.
That calculation detail is super useful, whether you're shopping or setting prices yourself.
Definitely. Understanding that sequence is vital.
Okay, so let's recap. We've covered the essentials: cost price, selling price, the absolute rule. Profit loss percentages are based on cost price.
Anchored to the cost.
We saw how overheads bump up that cost price to a total cost price, which is then used for profit calculations.
Right. Defining the true baseline.
And then discounts a separate world based on the marked price, not the cost price.
Yeah.
And crucially, successive discounts aren't additive, they compound.
Exactly. Two different bases, two different types of calculation.
These concepts really seem to be the bedrock for analyzing any transaction.
They really are fundamental.
So wrapping this up, what does this mean for you listening? Here's something to think about. We saw these rules applied in fairly simple examples. But how do these fundamentals scale up?
Yeah, that's interesting.
When you're talking about, huge retailers, massive factories, thousands of products, maybe complex international supply chains, does the basic math of profit on cost, discount on marked price change? Or is it just the same core math operating on a much, much larger scale?
It's a great question about how these core principles apply universally.
Something to chew on. Keep exploring, keep asking questions. We'll see you on the next deep dive.